Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And today, welcome to this week's weekly recap, where we have a new face to talk about, a lot of pain to sift through, and then a new season starting up, and of course, the wacky segment of the week. But this is kind of going to be a little bit of a faster episode since we don't want it to be like, an hour and 40 minutes long. And as you can tell by my voice, I probably would not last if this episode was an hour and 40 minutes long. Like Connor would have to drive a half hour and put me in the grave himself. So let's try to avoid that and start by talking about the new football receivers coach. That is Matthew Middleton. He's a former USD Coyote guy, would have been the receivers coach at USF, but the most recent actual position would have been at Kansas State, where he coached 6 total all-conference players and helped lead Kansas State to their most prolific passing offense they've had, including a guy who will be drafted, just transferred to Penn State, Dante Cephas, KCK guy, really loved by USD. You look on Twitter, there's nothing negative about the guy, which that's awesome because normally there's at least one guy who's, going to be like, oh, he sucks, I hated him. But no, Matthew Middleton, big KCK guy, born here, played at Ottawa, was a GA at KU for a year. So, he's from the outside looking in, it looks like a really good hire.
Yeah. I am pleasantly surprised with the quality of the hire. And it's really been growing on me over the last few days because it was kind of one that kind of just happened because there were rumors about guys going around, and then Matthew Middleton just kind of shows up and has a job. And but his resume is pretty good. He's from the area. Being from Kansas City should help with recruiting that area because that's kind of been an area that we've really kind of recently started to get some more traction in, but mainly on the Kansas side. And I think we'd really like to get more traction on the Missouri side as well.
Yeah.
So potentially he can help with that being from the area, even though he is from the Kansas side. But 6 all-conference guys and then Dante Cephas transferring to Penn State. I mean, I think that speaks for itself and the amount of talent that he's able to recruit, identify, and develop. So I really like that. I think he should end up being a really good coach. And he's well-traveled, but he wasn't job hopping, I guess, because he spent a couple years at Ottawa, was a GA at KU, and then spent a considerable amount of time at South Dakota and then Kent State. I think 5 years for each of them. And then would have been in South Florida with the new head coach there, whose name is evading me, but he was on Josh Heupel's staff at Florida.
The OC with Josh Heupel at Tennessee.
Yeah, so pretty good offensive pedigree there. So I'm all around pretty happy about this hire. I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see how he fills the void left by Thad Ward, who definitely made a significant impact on the recruiting trail for K-State. Brought in probably our best recruiting class, a receiver in a really, really long time, maybe ever.
Probably ever. Like what class really competes?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I'm just qualifying the statement because I might be forgetting one. So we'd have to go back to probably like the Lamarck Brown-ish classes just because he was individually really good. But in terms of top to bottom quality, I don't know if any compares. But yeah, I really like the Middleton hire. And I'm interested to see what to expect this upcoming season from the receiver room because we got a lot of new faces, losing some staples, especially, of course, Malik Knowles. He was the face of that room for, the last 4 seasons. Yeah. So I'm interested to see where we go from here.
Yeah, ever since I've been in college, Malik was the guy. And I think probably obviously we're not in the coaches' meetings. We're not watching every practice. God, I wish. But it would, like, the biggest, I think, one-to-one that you can draw between Thad Ward and Matthew Middleton is that they've each coached one like big time receiver, and that is Corey Davis from Western Michigan for Thad Ward, now Dante Cephas for Matthew Middleton, and both had a background of building up passing offenses by working with the receivers. I will say that although Leak did develop a little bit, upon reflection, I was kind of not disappointed, but whelmed with the development of all of our other receivers, which granted that very well might have been because we only saw two of them. But, you know, there's there are comparisons to be made there.
Fair enough, yeah. But I'm pretty happy with this hire overall. I'm mainly looking forward to seeing the recruiting impact that comes from
I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm saying sorry. I'll definitely edit that out. But like I started the cough and the okay. Well, since I edited it out, it doesn't matter. You're just gonna hear the aftermath, I guess. It's like observing a black hole. You get to see it through the events around it. But yeah, like you said, it's gonna be a recruiting judging thing, especially because he's a KCK area guy. So hopefully we stop losing KC receivers to Nate Shell Heiss at Iowa State.
yeah, that and Kelton Copeland, Iowa, and then I don't know who Mizzou's receivers coach is, so Drink, I guess, but
It's mostly drink handles the recruiting because he's a snake oil salesman.
that's true. Yeah, so yeah, that checks out. But so yeah, hopefully we can start kind of handling that a little bit more. We saw some trends in the right direction with getting Andre Davis, then winning the Keegan Johnson transfer recruitment. So there's some positives to look at there. So we'll see. We'll see how that develops going forward. There's some good Missouri side options right now. The Kansas class is still kind of like flushing out, I think,
Yeah,
for the 2024 year. But I think we're probably not going to see a ton of development there until maybe a little later. But then again, we are coming off probably the best Kansas class ever, at
yeah.
least in my memory.
So
So
it needs to like
whatever,
regen talent a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah, whatever happens this year is probably going to be a step down from last year because I think we probably ended up having like 20 guys go D1 out of this last class.
Yeah,
Like there was significant D1 talent scholarship wise. Obviously that number increases exponentially when you factor in walk-ons.
yeah. But anyway, that there's a lot of reasons to be excited for the new receivers coach. So welcome, Mr. Middleton. Now, now we can talk about men's basketball. First off, the Texas Tech loss 63-71. It hurt a lot, actually. Like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, this game really sucked. I was having dinner with my girlfriend for a an early Valentine's Day, so I only got to really watch the first half, and I was just kind of like glancing at the score for the second half, and I was able to catch some moments though because we had to wait. But the I was just shocked by what we were seeing. I mean, just an absolutely atrocious effort for the most part. And it just seemed like we were letting them answer way too much. And this is a Texas Tech team that is admittedly talented. And I think that it's been stated before, and I'll state it again in any other conference. This Texas Tech team is probably on the bubble right now, but instead they're like in a position to look at kind of being on the bubble. But I mean, Tech with their record probably isn't going to get enough of a look.
No.
But they probably are a tournament team in terms of true talent. But regardless of their true talent, losing to them on the road really, really sucks. There's just no getting around that. There's a lot to be upset about. Marquise Noel had 7 turnovers. Again, he just cannot keep the turnovers down. Keontae had 5. Desi had 4. We had 23 turnovers overall in this game.
11 assists, by the way.
just 11 assists. That's pretty atrocious. Um, just all around a really, really bad performance. Weren't really converting from three, 23%. It's one of our worst 3-point shooting performances of the year. 35%. We just couldn't hit at the rim, couldn't hit from range. Marquise Noel alone was 1 of 10 from three, which is really bad. And uh, a far cry from the peaks that we've seen from Marquise, where he's just been hitting anything and everything on the floor.
Yeah.
Just man, this game sucked in every measurable way. Even the little things. I mean, we lose by 8, and the margin's made up if we make all of our free throws. Like Dusty Sills went 1 of 4. Um, Keontae Johnson had his gamely miss because he seems to be really inconsistent at the line.
Yeah.
Keontae was held under 10 points for the first time in a really long time. It feels like he had 9. Um, yeah, this was such a forgettable game for all the wrong reasons. I don't know if there's good reasons for there to be a game to be forgettable, other than maybe just like a
Blowout.
comfortable win
Blowout
against
in our
like a really
favor.
good team. Yeah, but yeah, this game just wasn't. I don't have a lot to say about it at this point because it's been almost a week since this game happened,
It still
and
hurts.
yeah, granted, a lot of that's from the next game, but this this sucks. Going on the road, losing to Tech. That's a team that we had beaten already this year as well. And it wasn't like they had a fully healthy Fardaws Amac because
And they didn't
uh,
have Pops Isaac either.
yeah, they didn't have Pop Isaacs either. I mean, granted, they have better players than both of those guys that both played, and they're both really talented. Davion Harmon's really, really good. Kevin O'Banner's really good. Jalen Tyson's good. Kerwin Walton had a bad game, but isn't bad. Um, just man, not a game that you should ever accept losing. And here we were losing. David Gasson played 17 minutes, didn't even attempt a shot in this game, had 4 fouls. Granted, according to Coach Tang, he has been battling an illness over the last week or so. So hopefully he's starting to get better because we need him. But man, I don't know. What do you have to say? I've been rambling for a while. What do you have to say?
It sucked. It hurt. And I think a lot of it just comes down to the fact that there's so many aspects of this game that while it was being played, that just straight up weren't they aren't acceptable. Going 1 of 10 from 3 is not acceptable. Going 5 of 19 from the field is not acceptable. Turning the ball over 7 times is not acceptable. Turning the ball over 5 times is not acceptable. Like it And a lot of times it kind of felt just like we were coasting. And I think that's a theme that kind of goes into the next game. So we'll use that as a transition to the loss up against Oklahoma, 79-65. And I know Oklahoma doesn't have the worst record in Big 12 play. I truly think Oklahoma is probably the worst team in the Big 12. I'm not sure I get much pushback from that. But this was a game that genuinely I think was an effort loss because it didn't look like anyone on that team cared to be there. And that's what makes it hurt the most. It's not like it's not like we played our hearts out, and it was just a tough loss. That happens. That sucks. But whenever you go somewhere and it looks like exactly one person, Abayemi Ijiola, is actually trying, it's so frustrating because it has been a long time since we've seen, honestly, you could say what, Florida game, since we've seen a complete no nap time game from this team. And that's something that we talked about before, is this team is very susceptible to nap time. And
Yeah.
this entire game was not a nap time, it was a coma. And we didn't wake up, and it's so frustrating, and it's not acceptable. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. You can make a semi-fair argument that we were trying in the first half. Because we did go into the break tied, and we actually did have a good first half. Offensively, that's where Bebe did most of his damage, and it looked like he was really trying. Keontae gave him a really nice dish for an assist at one point, and we shot 48% from the field in the first half. All in all, not bad, but getting outscored 43-29 in the second half by unequivocally, I think, the least talented team in the entire Big 12, and it's not particularly close, um, then that isn't acceptable. Um, I, I mean, you said that best, is not acceptable. I'm really, really disappointed with the effort. There's been a lot of discourse about this game. I'm very happy this game is happening, or that this recap of the game is happening 2 days after the game instead of one day after.
Oh, we would have been
Because
melting down.
yeah, but we've had enough time to kind of settle and also see the discourse settle a little bit. And I think at the end of the day, I don't really know if there's an invalid point that has been made about this game when you combine them, because a lot of people are understandably not happy at all with the performance of the last, I don't even want to say 2 games. I want to say of the last month, because I think the Florida game masked a lot of the inconsistency of this team, because taking out the Florida game, we've been really like you take out that non-conference victory, conference play has not been good since we beat KU. I mean, we got TCU at home, but I mean, again, that's a weekend TCU, and it took a late run to make it a big time win. When you combine like the viewpoints, it seems like there's 2 viewpoints of uh what happened was not acceptable and we need to support the team. Those aren't mutually exclusive viewpoints. Like, those aren't viewpoints that can't coexist. And you can be really disappointed in the effort and execution that we had, because we've been told to expect to win. And when that became the standard, it went from, oh, whatever happens after this KU game is gravy, to we need to win and win now. Like the standard did change for the season, because you and I, we both were predicting this team to be like a bubble team. I think maybe like make it into the tournament probably.
Yeah,
I was
we
bubble.
projected like last 4 in.
Yeah, I know I was bubble pre Keontae Johnson pickup, and post Keontae Johnson pickup, it was kind of contentions on how good he was. But I felt like it was a tournament team, but not like a Big 12 contender. This team made itself into a Big 12 contender. And we were told to expect to win after we got on that hot streak and we were ranked number 5 in the country. But man, now this team is not playing like a team that deserves to be a top 15 squad, or a team that really deserves anybody's attention. And that's unfortunate to say, but it's also the objective truth. And with all that being said, all this disappointment and desire that like we want this team to like be playing better. We're so upset and frustrated during the games, and we're incredibly disappointed in how the season's going right now, or at least the most recent part of the season. Doesn't mean that we don't support the team and we don't want the team to win. And I think that gets lost in discourse online a lot. Granted, part of that is just communicating on social media. You're just going to lose a lot of the context around people's thoughts.
No, you're just going to lose. That, like, you could have stopped right there. You are
That
going
is
to
true.
lose.
That wasn't what I meant to say, but it is also true on its own. Um, but yeah, the people that are upset about how this team is going, I think that's valid, because the coaching staff told us to raise our expectations, and now we have. But that doesn't mean that these people that are upset don't care about how the team is performing and are being bad fans for that. I actually would contend that it's being a really good fan to have expectations beyond just, oh, well, we tried our best, which that's not to say that effort isn't important. We've learned that effort is incredibly important based off of the last couple of games.
No, we know. We learned.
Yeah, which I do think some of that might be that this team is really tired and really burnt out from the constant slog of playing a good team every single night. I get that. But that is life in the Big 12. And you got to find a way to surpass that and work through it, because there is not an alternative. I mean, you got to find something in you. And I hate saying stuff like that, because it's not like we're D1 athletes.
Yeah,
But
it's like that's dangerously close to figure it out territory. But like,
yeah,
whenever because the stretch since KU was a 1-2, 2 wins out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are 2-6 in an 8-game stretch since beating KU. No, No,
Yeah,
no, you can't do that. Like you can't do that.
mm-mm.
And one
Completely
of those
unacceptable.
was the collapse against Texas. Like if
Yeah.
you, I feel like if you could pick a point in the season other than post KU game where you could kind of see the not necessarily the wheels falling off, because I don't think the wheels have fallen off. I think we need to change the oil, so to speak. But like I don't think that this season is lost. We're still a tournament team. And part of being this frustrated with it is the fact that we care now. We have a good reason to care. And there was, to quote the very frustrated guy in front of me at the Texas game, whenever you get support, you have to earn it. And when you earn that support, you have to earn the right to keep it. So like we're obviously going to keep supporting the team, but that doesn't mean that they're immune from criticism. To quote my favorite video on the internet, what I am going to say is not out of hatred. I'm going to be mean and brutally honestly mean in the only way that someone in ways with someone only love in their heart can be, because I know it can take it. And like I love this team. It's probably my second favorite team. Like all them and women's basketball trade back and forth. That doesn't mean that I'm not disappointed. I am. I think the effort up against in these last few games has not been acceptable. I think that we have too many people trying to be the guy instead of trying to be the team. And it Tang mentioned before that if he needs to be, I think he said Jaguar. I think he said it's what it was. Like if he needs to be that coach that like you have a 50-50 shot of getting screamed at or slapped, he can. And I think at this point he kind of needs to be, especially going into this next game stretch. Up against Iowa State at home, Farmageddon. Up against Baylor, Oklahoma State, at Oklahoma State, I should say, at home Oklahoma, and then at West Virginia. So let's cut it off at Oklahoma State. Honestly, gun to your head right now, what do you project that record to be? That not 3 games.
Man, I think we can get one of those games as things stand today before the Iowa State game, but that's iffy. I mean, Iowa State is a good team. They did just lose to I'm forgetting who, Oklahoma State, I think.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so they're vulnerable, but
So are
that
we.
doesn't they're not a bad team, and we're also vulnerable. Granted, we do play a lot better at home than away. I think we can fully determine that at this point in the season that we are a just significantly better team at home in every measurable way than on the road. Baylor is the best team in the conference as things stand right now.
Yeah.
The season ended today. They wouldn't win the conference just because of record, but I do think that they're the best team in the conference right now. And then Oklahoma State, that is a team that everybody seems to be forgetting about that is really, really good. That Oklahoma State team terrifies me as things stand. Their defense is elite. So I can't pencil us in to win in Stillwater, and I can't really pencil us in to beat Baylor either. I think our best shot at winning one of those 3 games as things stand right now is against Iowa State. Now, if we beat Iowa State by like 40 points, then all of a sudden the expectations change. And I think we beat
Yeah.
Baylor and then also still lose to Oklahoma State because it's on the road. But I I'm not really sure, man. There's been a lot of ebbing and flowing this year. We started out the year kind of slow, even albeit athletic. But the offense was kind of all over the place and start out conference play with like maybe one of the hottest streaks that we've ever seen, like for a team. But that I think we knew at the time it wasn't sustainable to keep shooting the lights out every single night.
Nope.
And
And lo and behold,
yeah, and this team is gonna have to find a way to really band together. And I almost said it. I almost said figure it out.
you almost said figure it out. Like, and that's the worst part is that like that's it, what else do you say?
I don't know. But I'm wholly disappointed with the last month almost of this team.
Yeah.
Since the home Texas Tech game, uh, we've only won 2 games since then. And we beat Florida and then we beat TCU at home. But since that home Texas Tech game on January 21st, lost to Iowa State, lost to KU, lost to Texas, and then dropped 2 in a row to Tech and OU. That's not a good stretch. And I had to be honest about it. Like I hate talking negatively about this team because I love this team and I support them and I want them to win every single game. And it hurts me to my core when this team loses because I want them to win so badly. But gotta be honest about how they're performing, and it's not good enough right now.
We're
We at
not
least
gonna
know
we're
that
not
they
gonna
have it in them.
lie.
Yeah. We know that they have it in them, which I think maybe makes it more frustrating. Is we
Oh, it
know that
does.
they can win these type of games, but they just haven't been able to put it together.
Yeah. To answer the question, the record, I think 1-2. I don't think I think we can beat Iowa State. I think they're kind of on a backslide right now. Um, I don't see us beating Baylor. I think they're the hottest team in the conference right now. And if we somehow beat Baylor, we may just gank their momentum, which I would accept. But and I don't feel comfortable projecting any away victories for any Big 12 team. So that is the men's catsketball squad. Now we can talk about the women. First game we'll kind of gloss over because it wasn't very interesting. It was a 85-68 loss up against the Oklahoma Sooners in Bramlage. So the first Gabby Gregory revenge game, and she got hurt. She got 24, but this was a game that one of the rare mini games where it was our defense that let us down. Because like I feel like that's one thing that you can pretty consistently, at least every fourth game, we choke away every fourth game. But consistently we've had a decent defense. But Gabby Gregory had 12, Serena Sendell had 12, the Glenn twins each had 12. That's a wow. So
Hmm.
Serena, Briley, and Jalen all had 12 points and 4 steals.
And also 4 rebounds.
And also 4 rebounds. Were they all the same person?
Sources say perhaps.
Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, but it this was one of those that we kind of didn't project us winning because Oklahoma was kind of that good. So like I mean Gabby Gregory scored 24, so she's doing her part. I don't feel like there have been many games where Gabby Gregory hasn't been doing her part. She went the distance. She's clearly been hurt for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months, but she did her part. Everyone else is on the team, contributing.
Yeah.
There's just not much to say.
It's pretty obvious that if Ayoka Lee was healthy, this team would be doing remarkable things.
Oh
I
yeah,
think. Like if there was just, I mean, throw Gabby Gregory and Ayoka Lee on the floor at the same time, where
it's
you have
gross.
two
That's nasty. That
legitimate,
shouldn't happen.
where you have two legitimate scoring threats at all times. That really opens up everything else for the other players, and that would be awesome. But of course, Ayoka Lee coming back next year, but don't have her this year. Gabby Gregory also coming back next year using her COVID year.
Oh,
But
did she announce that?
she announced that like a while ago.
Oh man, next year is going to be nasty because Giselle, I think, is coming back as well.
Yes.
I mean, the only person who wouldn't come back because she can't would be some Shalatzi.
I think so, yeah. Everett might be out of eligibility. I'm not sure. But point is, next year's team should be good. We said that we said that last year too, but that was before Ayoka got injured.
We had a
So
reason. We had a good
yeah,
reason.
I feel like that's a fair statement retraction. But yeah, not a lot to note about this game. Did not play very well. And that's really about it. But
Yeah, that's all one can really say. But now we can talk about the game that you and I kind of didn't give us a chance in. And then we won by 19. I I'm happy to look like an idiot in this case, honestly. That is the 87-68 Wildcat victory up against the Baylor Bears in Bramlage. And well, this was like, you want to talk about good performances. Again, Gabby Gregory, double, 10 rebounds, 26 points. Serena Sundell, 20 points, 5 steals, 6 assists. Riley Glenn, 14 points. Jalen Glenn adding 4 steals to. I don't understand how she's so good at getting steals. She just there's nothing watching it that makes it stand out. Just like they suddenly just lose. Maybe they get minus 50 ball handling whenever Jalen Glenn is within 2 feet. Maybe that's her X Factor ability.
I think at least some of it has to be that she has really unusually long arms, and some of it probably is just instincts, I guess, but it's not really something that you can quantify, I guess. But she is remarkably good at getting steals.
Yeah. Then, Sarah Shramazzi had 3. And then the person you and I have been most excited about is Eliza Maupin, who flashed big time this game. You look at her stat line, it's 3 of 6, 3 of 4 for the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 4 fouls, 9 points. That's fine. Watching this game, you could tell, you never could lose sight of where Eliza Maupin was. You can't, because she was obviously the most athletic person on the floor, and we were going against Baylor.
Yeah. That's why it matters, because Baylor is just such a great program. They're having a down year for their standards, but they're still not having a bad year. And
they're still probably a tournament team.
Yeah, Maupin, I'd really like to see her get more games like this where she's getting 20 minutes, because at this point we pretty much would have to win out and pick up multiple games in Kansas City to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Because the absolute best that our record can be when it's all said and done is I think we can hit 20 wins. So we may actually stand a chance, maybe a better chance of getting to the tournament, but we're not going to win we're not going to beat Texas, I don't think.
No.
And I don't think we beat OU on the road. So I think we can count probably on beating TCU in Fort Worth. KU at home is a toss-up, and we have a shot against West Virginia on the road. If you want to be optimistic with that, we'll probably be 18-13. I think you win 2 games in KC, and you have an argument to be in the NCAA tournament and sneak in as an 11 or 12 seed or a play-in team.
Yeah.
But this is probably more likely an NIT team at this point in time.
Which, granted, I think this is a team that could make noise in the NIT, but I don't think that should be the goal.
Yeah, we could make noise in the NIT, but I'd rather we be in the NCAA tournament than that.
And then get smoked. Yeah,
that. That is by and large a better result, because it means that you win more games. But regardless, they had a fantastic performance. Granted, some of this I think is anomalous. We shot 50% or higher in every quarter but the last one, 60% for the game. We shot 81% in the third quarter from the field. Our only 2 misses were 3-pointers, and we were perfect at the line. That third quarter is one of the best shooting quarters I've ever seen in my life. 1 of 3 from 3, but 9 of 11 from the field, 6 of 6 at the free throw line. That's nuts. 60% from the field for the day, 45% from 3. This is a team that has generally been not great at the 3-point line, especially for a volume 3-point shooting team.
Yeah.
We won 9 of 20 from 3, and then 20 of 23 at the free throw line. This is I think in Jeff Mitty's mind a borderline perfect game, other than we definitely had way too many turnovers. We had 19. But I don't know, this game at the end of the day, I think we should be very, very happy with this result, because one thing that really stands out on the stat line is that we had 48 shots. Baylor had 62. They had 14 more shot attempts than we did, but fewer makes. That is really, really, really unusual. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we shot really well from 3, and we made 20 free throws to their 6. And we were forcing ourselves to the line on it. We just drove right at the basket, and we're getting Serena Sundell and Gabby Gregory to the line. And while we can definitely make an argument about that being gimmicky or not, at the end of the day, what that does display is good coaching from Jeff Mittie, who admittedly has been spotty at times. Some games it feels like he does great, other times it feels like we don't adjust very much. But this was a borderline masterclass from Jeff Mittie in making sure this team gets to the line. 60% from the field is something that you can't really coach, other
No.
than strategy and trying to get to the paint, which we did have 38 points in the paint. And then add another 20 at the line. It's 58 of our 87. And then most of our threes were wide open because of that, because we opened up the paint. So there's at least some coaching there. But at the end of the day, players have to make shots. But Jeff Mittie's our overarching strategy for this game was fantastic. So got to give him a tip of the cap there, especially considering that we lost by 21 last time we played Baylor. So we only scored 48 points in that game. We scored 87 in this game. So that's quite the turnaround for Jeff Mittie and Kansas State. So kudos to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep getting really excited about trying to talk about next year's team. But because it's going to be Serena Sundell, Gabby Gregory, Ayoko Lee, the Glenn twins, and then Eliza Maupin is like the sixth person off the bench. That's gross.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
And then you bring in Taryn Sides as well as a high school recruit.
Gisela
So
Sanchez.
Giselle Sanchez
I think
is going to
is
be
she a forward or a guard? I think she was marked as a guard.
I thought she was a forward based on height, because I think she's like 6'2" or 6'3", but I don't know off the top of my head.
She is marked as a forward. She's 6'3". She's also from Barcelona.
In Barcelona.
Barcelona. But next games are, like you said, up against TCU at TCU. Yes, there will be a meltdown if we lose that game. KU in Bramlage, you said it's a toss-up. West Virginia at Oklahoma at Texas. I agree. Actually, I'm maybe 18, maybe 18 and 13 is enough to get us into the tournament.
It might
Maybe.
be. It could be enough depending on how heavily weighed our wins against Iowa and Iowa State are, because those wins are both huge.
Yeah, and Baylor is mid 25 in the net.
Yeah, so that Baylor win will probably be seen as a quality win, especially by the amount. And also it helps that win comes towards the end of the season. But we need to win the ones we should. And if you can steal a game, maybe that you shouldn't, that's unusual for women's basketball. Generally, there's not a ton of upsets in women's basketball. Generally, talent just is going to beat talent. But I don't know. This is definitely a wrong side of the bubble team as things stand today, but they can play themselves back onto the right side of the bubble. That's not out of the question, but it's probably less likely, I'd say, at this point. But it's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. So looking at the latest bracketology, picking up a win up against KU would be massive because in the latest bracketology, KU is an 8 seed.
Yeah. Getting that win at home, I think if you lose that game to KU at home, I think that might be an IT bound.
Oh yeah, that
at that
kills
point.
us.
Unless the only other way to do it, I think, is to go on a rampage in Kansas City. But I don't really know if this team is capable of that. This has been a very up and down season. Had a really fantastic non-conference slate, but man, it's just what could have been with Ayoko Lee just over and over again. It leaves you wondering. But oh well. Regardless, great win at home against Baylor, against a really quality Baylor team. We schemed a really good game. So very happy about that.
Yep. Now we can talk about men's golf, everyone's favorite sport to talk about. And we ended up as a team getting a third place finish in the Hal Williams Collegiate Classic down to the University of Southern Alabama. I believe it was third out of
3rd out of 15.
3rd out of 15. And the men's team is actually ranked, by the way, ranked 21st in the country because we are obviously the greatest team in history. So,
Yeah. I will say, looking at the team leaderboards, there's a sizable gap between us and the first place team. 20 stroke gap, or 23 strokes. Illinois, fifth ranked golf team in the country, they went minus 36, which is just ludicrous. Like, we went minus 13, and that's like fantastic. Like, we're 23 strokes out of first and 10 strokes out of second. But we're pretty solidly at the front of that, like bringing up the rear pack. Like, at least for the other teams that like got below par. But yeah, we had a really, really good performance. I gotta say, overall, I'm pretty pleased. Will Hopkins, individually is ranked 68th in the country. He went -7, individually finished tied for 6th with a couple other guys. Some dude for Arkansas went -15. What the heck?
whoa.
Yeah, we did really well there. Tim Tillman's went -1. And then Luke O'Neill was even par. And then we had two other guys finish at +2. So really, really quality showing. A lot to like there. Looks like a tough showing for Nicholas Mason, who's actually ranked 61st individually, but he went +10. So not fantastic. Finished 74th out of 84. But other than that, man, what a nice showing for the golf cats, the club cats. I don't know what the
Ooh, Club Cats.
club cats.
Ooh. Ooh, first catsketball. Now
Yeah,
that
the men's club cats, and there's also the women's club cats. But
they didn't play this week, I don't think. So, but yeah, that is the men's golf Club Cats. Now we can talk a little bit about the Batcats and their first series up against Stephen F. Austin. The first thing of note is that they announced at least three of the four starters for the series, and I can pull that up really fast.
I got him.
Okay,
Owen Burma is going to start the first game against Stephen F. Austin. Then Herman Fajardo starting game 2. Then Jackson Wentworth game 3. The notably omitted is Griffin Hassel. It is a TBD on why. Perhaps the broadcast will reveal that, because the Friday, Sunday, and Monday games will be on ESPN Plus. The Saturday game will not, because shut up. And then we don't know the starter for the fourth game either. I imagine that will be announced sometime during the weekend, and it'll be probably a fourth player. I would hope we are not pitching somebody again in the same weekend,
yeah,
but you
not
never
this
know.
early.
Yeah, but Burma, he's a D3, former D3 player of the year, pitcher of the year, I think. Uh, was really fantastic in D3. We'll see how that translates to D1. But he'll be the number one starter. Herman Fajardo was fantastic as a relief and weekday starter last year. Was kind of iffy at times, but in smaller quantities, showed to be really, really good at times. And then Jackson Wentworth, he's a redshirt freshman, was a former blue chip recruit, was drafted and elected to come to K-State instead. Really, really highly regarded. Missed all last season with an injury of some sort. It's baseball, so, and he's a pitcher, so it's probably Tommy John, but
Yeah,
don't know
probably.
for sure. But we will see Wentworth for the first time in the K-State uniform on Sunday, February 19th. That game will be on ESPN Plus. So I am looking forward to this first series. I don't think we learn a ton about this team. I don't know how good Stephen F. Austin is, but this definitely is an early opportunity to get in the win column.
Yeah, I agree. 4 game series. Other things of note is Nick Goodwin. We kind of figured it would be, but he's still going to be the starting shortstop. Uh, we didn't expect differently. I still believe that Kay and Nick Goodwin should switch places, especially knowing that high school Kalen Culpepper was a shortstop. Unless they've tried that and Kalen Culpepper just is awful. But like defensively, Nick Goodwin's not a great shortstop. And I think we've seen him play third before, and he was a fine third baseman. So you know, what can you do? And someone we forgot to mention in the notable returners is Cole Johnson, who hit a 500 footer during fall ball, and he just got left off of being mentioned in the preview show. So, our bad. That's on us. We each have to take responsibility for our failings sometimes.
Yeah, it is what it is. A couple interesting things to note from the game or from the series preview. Last year, Stephen F. Austin went 15-36, and 0-5 against Big 12 opponents. So there is that. So we do know how good they were at least last year.
Bad.
Yeah, or how good they were not, I suppose. But they also did notice some stuff about some guys on K-State's roster for D1 baseball's MLB draft prospects for next year. Nick Goodwin is the number 77 overall prospect and number 12 among the top 50 shortstops for the 23 MLB draft. Cole Johnson is the 109th outfielder, and then Jackson Wentworth is the 185th starting pitcher. So I don't know where they're drawing that from other than kind of extrapolating from where he was.
They made it up.
Yeah. He's not draft eligible, I don't think. So doesn't really matter, but
good on you, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, the MLB scouts are high and have been high on Goodwin pretty much the whole time that he's been in Manhattan. He's been pretty inconsistent at times, but if nothing else, definitely has the athleticism necessary for the next level.
For a bat, but
yeah, I will say I am surprised to see him that high at number 77 overall. Like that is super, super high. Like, I mean, that's putting him at third round. Yeah, third round. Like, good for him. Like, that's great. But I am shocked. But more power to him. Good for you, Nicholas. But hopefully that translates to a more consistent defensive performance this year from Nick Goodwin, because he definitely did have some highlight defensive plays last year, but there were as many missed grounders and bad throws. So I think consistency is the big ask from Nick Goodwin, because when Nick Goodwin's on, he's on, and he's one of the best players in the Big 12. But it's just, it depends which Nick Goodwin you're going to get, basically. So hopefully he's able to figure it out and really put it all together this year. Cole Johnson, hopefully he can continue to be pretty consistent. He was generally solid last year once he got rolling. And hopefully Kalen Culpepper can continue his hot end to the year and is able to avoid a sophomore slump. And hopefully Jackson Wentworth is able to show why he was a blue chip recruit out of high school.
Yeah. All of those things, I would, hot take, controversial take, I know. I would enjoy all of those outcomes.
I think if every player on K-State's roster was drafted into the MLB, I think that'd be good.
Yeah, like, eventually, not all at once, but
yeah, not everybody at the same time, but just a constant rotating door of future MLB Hall of Famers just coming through Manhattan, Kansas. I think that would be really fantastic.
I do too. I would enjoy that. I'd have a lot of fun with that. But yeah, that is the Batcats. So now we can do everyone's favorite, the wacky segment of the week. This week, if you had to pick one K-State Twitter personality to play a sport, who are you picking and what sport are they playing? Bonus points if you give a position.
Okay. First, for context, do you mean like a D1 varsity athletics sport that K-State currently has?
Yes.
Okay. Because I originally was going to say Scott Wildcat and have him be a bowler, but just because that just seems correct. Like,
I agree with you. It does fit.
Yeah, I know he likes wings, and for some reason, I just was correlating those two things for literally no reason at all.
He likes wings.
And
He likes beer.
yeah, so bowling just kind of made sense in my head. However, sounds like that's not going to be an option unless K-State gets a bowling team, which please don't spend money on that, Gene. But
Get wrestling first.
yeah, wrestling first, then we can talk bowling. But that is a fantastic question. Um, I a lot of that's a struggle because I don't know the general athleticism of a lot of K-State Twitter. Um, I for now will be going with the commish, aka Bob Trollsby, and I think that I don't even know where I'm going to put him now that I realize that I'm saying him, but he seems like somebody that's potentially athletic. Um, I feel like he could maybe be a baseball player. I'll stick him in right field for now because I don't know how good he is, but
Oh, Bob
I'll,
Trollsby's hosing people from right. He's Ichiroing people at third.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Either that or maybe are there any lefties on Twitter? K-State Twitter. If you're a lefty, reach out and we'll put you at first
Fellow
base on
lefty
the
Connor
Alleycats baseball
Baltazar.
team. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a lefty, so fun fact. But
you could pick
if you're
yourself.
also a lefty, I'm a manager. You and I are co-managers, so
Oh, okay.
we can't, and there's no like player
Player
managers
manager.
here.
Okay.
So I think that we'll have to find somebody else, a different lefty, to play there. But we'll put together an alley cat baseball team to never play a game, I guess. But
All right. So it came down to two for me. It came down between the other half or one of the other thirds of Cocaine Willie, and that is Chef, and then Nick the coffee fiend. And I'm actually going to go with Nick. I'm going to put him at receiver. And there's one main reason as to why. It's because he's in the military. So I know he can at least run and can run a decent distance without immediately vomiting on himself.
you see
Plus,
that indicates to me, well, if we had men's soccer, then I'd throw him out there.
oh
Uh,
yeah, but we don't have it.
but we don't
Yeah,
have
I
men's soccer.
yeah, I'd give Nick the nod. I'd put him out at receiver slash special teamer, maybe make him a gunner. And who knows? Maybe they'll have standard issue coffee, not sponsored, on the sideline. Just saying, we'd be open to a standard issue coffee sponsorship.
I don't drink coffee, but it would feel nice to have a sponsorship.
we would drink coffee for that sponsorship.
I'll start drinking coffee if that's what happens.
But
I
yeah,
probably I probably need it. Most mornings I definitely need it, but
I'm gonna go with Nick the coffee fiend at receiver. You know, he's gonna sip standard issue coffee on the sideline. Some get the ability to run a 4.140 and just like destroy people on special teams. That's my pick.
that's a fantastic pick. And for the record, Chef was my backup pick. I think he was yours too.
Yes, he
So,
was.
but yeah, we'll have to have like a K-State Twitter combine or something like that to like gauge what everybody would be good at.
My fastest 40 was a 5.6 in high school, bro. I'm guaranteed I'm running like a 6.5 now.
The last time I ran a 40, I think was my freshman year of high school. Um, I I don't even remember what I think it was like a 6 flat or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it has been a very long time.
You and I are both bigger dudes, so like that makes sense. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
I've always been a bigger guy. I definitely was not as big then. But yeah, I was not a fast person at any point in my life, unfortunately.
Unfortunate. Why, mama? Why wasn't I born fast?
That's a great question, but
But yeah. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. If you want to follow the show, please be sure to follow us on Twitter at Aggieville Alleycats, as well as on Instagram at Aggieville Alleycats. We're on the road to 1,000 followers on Twitter, hoping to get that before the end of the year. I believe we're either 15 or 16 away. So be awesome to get that. I imagine we will at some point this year, but sooner is better than later. If you want to email us, we're AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at ACEdwards00.
I'm at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, where you can find such designs as the staff-approved Doomtang Clan, Play Sandstorm Cowards, and Neon Alleycats. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.